I'm here today wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day. In particular, all of my warrior mamas standing behind me. And also, I'd like to wish a happy Mother's Day to Michelle Obama, since I'm speaking directly to her house. I'd also like to wish a happy Mother's Day to my mother, Mary McLeod, who has been my partner warrior through probably one of the most hideous things that anyone could imagine. For all of you who don't know, my son's name is Prince McLeod Rams. His picture is on my chest. Prince was born July 1st, 2011. 2 weeks after he was born, I fled my ex's house, Prince's father. For the next 15 months, we fought in family court. Unfortunately, Prince was murdered on October 21st, 2012, after what was only the fourth unsupervised visitation. I stand here for Prince. This is not a cause that I would have chosen, and I don't know that any of us would have chosen this cause, because it's certainly not a very glamorous one. But I am proud to say that my son chose me as his mama. And before I get into what I personally am asking for, and I'm sure that many of these women standing behind me are asking for, I'd just like to have a moment to remember my son Prince. Okay. During the Civil Rights Movement in the 60s, the mistreatment of Black Americans had reached such a dangerous level that it required federal oversight. We have reached that level when it comes to the civil rights violations against our nation's children. Family courts across the country sanction the abuse and the murder of our children. As a mother who was legally forced to turn my son over to a serial killer, I'm asking Mr. Obama and his administration for the following things. First, I'm asking for federal oversight of family courts with the focus of, number one, criminal accountability for psychological professionals who withhold key information in cases where the negligence leads to the death or abuse of a child. Number two, federal oversight of Father Rights Initiative funding to ensure that it stays out of the hands of known abusers. Federal funds should not go towards helping someone in their personal custody war. This perpetuates legal abuse. Number three, federal requirements for state courts to meet minimum standards of training for social workers and judges involved in family court. This training would include child abuse and domestic violence recognition. Number four, in cases where child abuse and/or domestic violence have been reported, it would be federally mandated that victim advocates be assigned to the case. And finally, in cases where a family court decision has resulted in child abuse and/or death of a child, the state would be required to report this information to a federal oversight commission and adhere to after-action report to improve their system and prevent further atrocities. I thank you all for paying attention. For all of those who have not been involved in the custody battle, who have not been involved in this case, in these cases directly, I would like to plead to you to stand with us, because these children, even though your child may not be a victim of abuse, these children will one day be knocking on your door. They'll be dating your daughter or your son. They're going to be in your children's classes. They're going to be working with you. We need to stop this. Thank you for your time, and happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Good morning, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers around the United States and around the world, and all of the mothers behind us. We come as one, but we stand for the thousands and thousands and thousands of children who were court-ordered by our United States family courts to be living in the home with the person that they identified as the person who horrifically abused them. We're asking for congressional oversight hearings on this matter, and we know as you stand here and you're from different countries that it's hard to believe that this could be actually happening in the United States of America. But we can tell you, not only is it happening, but we know that it's happening. There's documented evidence of it, and we need to find a solution. So we're asking for congressional oversight committee hearings on this matter, and we know that one day justice will prevail. Thank you so much.
President,
First Lady, 58,000 children every year are being placed in the custody of violent, abusive fathers. They're being taken away from their safe mothers. They're being injured and killed as if it were a war. Mr. President, First Lady, you said that you would fix government if there was something wrong. There is something very, very wrong. We come to you again to ask you to help us fix it. You can do it.
Who know me, I'm Michelle Etland. Those of you who don't, I'm the old woman. I'm the old soldier from the early 90s, late 80s. And co-author of the book Hostage Child. My co-author, Leora Rosen's going to bring the book out again, updated soon. But this is for an update, and the update is my opinion. I'm just giving you my reactions. 2 days ago at the conference advising advocates on how they can be most effective in court proceedings involving children at risk and among us, abused children who are called children at risk or whatever. Somebody asked a question, and the question was, why are the fatherhood initiatives not being measured by outcome-based measurements? In other words, why are they not looking at the outcomes and saying, okay, this didn't work, this is bad for kids, a whole bunch of kids got hurt, so we can't continue to do what we have been doing? And I almost blurted out from the audience, and I didn't, thank goodness. The things that are going wrong are being measured by the outcomes. The outcomes are, in fact, the outcomes that are intended. We are being fed a bunch of lies about the best interests of children and this being about better parenting and all that is nonsense. What is happening is the system is not broken. It's operating the way it intends to operate very efficiently. It'll run you over like a tank. This is about making sure that mothers cannot maintain power over their children and over their families in the face of someone who has a higher position in the hierarchy, who wants to take their power away. That's what it's about. So when you have children, you automatically are vested with the power to raise them, the power to love them and bring them up and take care of them, and the responsibility to do that. But if someone wants to take that from you, and it can be the father, most often it is the father, or it can be the state, there can be many ways for this to happen. This is not a fair fight. Don't look upon it as them not having enough information. They have all the information they need. What they are doing is what they want to do and intend to do, and they're doing it well. When we tell them, oh, you're making a big mistake, they'll listen. But they won't correct it because to them it's not a mistake. To them it's a success story. And everyone here who has lost children because of this, you know that there's damage done to the child, to you, to the society. There's damage done economically. You lose your jobs, you can't function appropriately, this and that happens. There's all kinds of fallout, all of it objectively bad. But what they've done is what they've intended to do. So to them, no amount of, quote, bad outcomes proves anything other than your complaining. And your complaining was what happened at the beginning to make you the enemy. If you read The Art of War, you see something that really affected me because I never trained for war. You know, I say I'm an old soldier. I trained while it was happening. I was in the trenches before I knew I was in a war. I trusted and I thought things were going well, and I had to go bring information. I had to go prove things. I had to hire experts. I had to hire lawyers. I had to work within the system. I had to do everything right. I had to not make a misstep. None of that matters. The Art of War says, defeat your enemy before he knows you're the enemy. That is what happened to us. And the damage it's done to us, and the damage it has done to our sisters, to our mothers, to our friends, to decent men everywhere, to decent people everywhere, what it's done is simply part of the system. It is not an unintended consequence. They don't care about the consequence. We're here saying there's a problem. It's not a problem to the people who could solve it. It's not a problem to them. And as long as they can make sure that it's only a problem to us, we have nothing to work with. The rest of what I would say, I will avoid saying in view of the venue and the conditions and the uselessness of it. But this all said, and you can see how deeply cynical I am, I also want to say that every single thing that each of you and everyone you speak to has been able to do is still the most important thing that you can ever do. And the most important thing that anyone can ever do. Because never is there a system anywhere in the world and anywhere in history, never is there a system that can completely dominate the human spirit so long as something happens, quote successful or quote unsuccessful, to expose it. So do everything you do. Remember, I worked on 257 cases. 251 were total losses. Only one out of 257 was a real win. The others were qualified wins. That's the story. And that's the real story. That's why I am this cynical. I also want to say that when you think about what they gain and what they lose, they're looking at what they want. They're not looking forward to saying, what kind of a society do we want to be? And that is a shame. That is a disgrace. That is a horrifying disgrace that we have a country this rich in resources and this rich in human resources, and we're wasting it. But the bottom line, the end of everything I can say, and forgive me for being this cynical, that's just me. The end of it is, what you're doing today is more important than the battering they're giving us and the battering they're giving our kids and the battering they're doing and the destruction they're doing to our society. Because this, right here, this demonstration right here with the signs, is the one sign, is the one piece that says it will not ultimately succeed in every way. We are the only reason, we're what stands between them and complete destruction of decent society. So thank you for it, keep it going, and thanks.
Happy Mother's Day. For Elsa Newman to free an innocent mom who's been in prison 12 plus years for a crime where she was falsely accused and wrongfully convicted. 12 and a half years in a Maryland prison. She's a good mom who never did anything wrong. She was accused of conspiracy. The other woman who was involved testified that she acted alone, that Elsa was involved in no way, and yet Elsa was tried twice and convicted both times. This is a case that is extremely political. Her prosecutor wrote against her when just recently, just a year ago, and said that Elsa is dangerous. She still believes that she is innocent. She's been kept in prison another 2.5 years at least because she still maintains that she is an innocent mom who is not involved in this. It's a tragedy that one you can fix by going to her website. Help us fix it. Sign a link petition. The website is justiceforelsanewman.com. Find the link petition. Sign it, please. Free Elsa.
Something to add about the Elsa Newman case. The person most responsible for what went wrong in the Elsa Newman case is Douglas Gansler. Okay? Gansler had been accused and convicted of 3 violations. I'm not positive it's 3, it's 2 or 3. 3 violations of the Attorney Ethics Code before he was handling the Elsa Newman case as the prosecutor in Montgomery County, Maryland. He's running for governor now. He's running on a ticket saying he protects children. He got into that case to protect the agency that was handing the children over to a named abuser, named by doctors and children and the mother and others. Okay, he defended the agency against allegations that they did wrong, and he found himself having to defend the agency so vigorously that the best defense was a good offense. So he ran that whole 2 prosecutions. He ran that whole thing to defend an agency that had handed 2 kids over to someone they said had molested them, and their statements were backed up by plenty of evidence. And all kinds of legal machinations were used, and this thing is his fault. Doug Gensler, running for governor of Maryland, the case that ended Elsa Newman in prison was his fault. I say that.
We are here today in front of the White House to bring attention to the fact that children are taken away from their protective mothers and given to batterers and child molesters, and they're sold into slavery, and they suffer, and they grow up to be cutters and depressed. And we had to speak out in New Jersey in front of the courthouse, and we had children there speaking about the horrible stories that they had in their lives, and nobody would help them. And we're here today to continue with that and to bring it here to the President and the First Lady so they will stop this horrible, horrible treatment. Horrible.
Actually a survivor of what Sandra was just talking about, and was not taken away from the family, not taken away from the home, stayed in the home, and I became a cutter and committed suicide several times, or tried to commit suicide several times, but I have survived. I'm also a survivor of domestic abuse in my later life, which unfortunately sometimes is the pattern that happens, but excited to be here and great to see that there's so many people speaking out against the injustice. Thank you.
I'm an attorney who works with survivors of domestic violence. I went to law school where I learned about all the constitutional rights you have, all the procedural rights you have, and I hung those documents to defend our country up in our office. A few years later, I said I was going to hang a little sign under them that said, "Offer not valid in domestic relations court." Our domestic relations court are dangerous places for women and children. They are dangerous for professionals who stand up for them, and they aren't doing what our founders expected us to do. Behind me stands a line of heroes who were moms just like your mom before they entered this crazy world we call domestic relations court. They were den mothers, they were room mothers, they went to soccer games and baseball practices, and then one day they were sucked into this horrible situation because they dared to get out of an abusive relationship. They are also the toughest people you will ever meet. They will not stop until this is made right for all children, and they will not fail.
Happy Mother's Day to everybody. We're here to bring attention to a shameful chapter in America's history. Sad thing is the chapter is not over. America is supposed to stand for something. We still have people who come to this country to escape some horrific circumstance in their country, or economic stability, or freedoms. Some of my ancestors helped establish this country. My other ancestors were here long before the new immigrants. My ancestors should be rolling in their graves knowing what has happened to the revolutionary experiment that they created. We are violating women and children's rights every day in this country, and we do it through a system that we purport purport to have as a fair system. We like to hold our judicial system up as a model of democracy. In reality, it has become something else, particularly in the family courts. That is also spreading out to other areas as well. This is a country that has now facilitated and enabled people who beat other people, oftentimes smaller than themselves, called children. This country is enabling, or the system is enabling, the sexual abuse of people by other people, children mostly. This system is facilitating the trafficking and pornography creating business. 60% of the child pornography comes out of the United States. It's created here. There are a lot of people running pedophile rings and pornography rings under the radar. Oftentimes, these are their own children. They are going to the family court system, going against the protective parent and the mother, in the face of evidence. They are getting custody of their children. They are raping their children. They are prostituting their children. They are filming their children. So for those of you who think pornography is not a problem, that it's just an activity, it's kind of normal, I tell you it is not. These children are brutalized and violated on film. They continue, even after these children grow up. This footage is out there. If you watch this, if you pay for this, you are aiding and abetting the commission of a crime against a child. This is black and white. There's no maybes, there's no ifs, ands. The family court system is facilitating this. There is funding coming from the government that has been misappropriated and is funding people who like to pose as fathers but are pedophiles and batterers. So in this country right now, you can rape your child, you can beat your wife, and you can prevail in the court of law, and all evidence is ignored. You can have a record of history an arm long. It doesn't matter. We need to investigate why judges are getting away with this. Why are we facilitating this? The average American citizen is not aware of this. This material is not getting printed openly in newspapers. It's very hard to get this publicized. But this connects with the sexual assaults on campus. This connects with the sexual assault in the military. It's finally rearing its head. Many of us have known this for years. This is an open secret. Finally now, last week, the White House acknowledged this problem on campuses. If a parent went to orientation on a university campus and was told that there's a 1 out of 5 chance that their child's laptop would have been stolen, these parents would have been quite angry and said, "What are you going to do about it?" to the administrators. But these parents don't know that there's a 1 out of 5 chance that their daughters will be raped on campus. And nothing will be done. It will be covered up. They will not get the assistance they need. And rapists will continue to be allowed to walk on campus. It is the same thing in the military. We had bills trying to be put through. It is the same thing in the family courts. Rapists, child rapists are allowed to go to PTO meetings in your schools with your children. There are child rapists and pedophiles who have custody of the children they are raping. The protective parent, mostly the mothers, are kept from the schools, they're kept from soccer events, they're kept from concerts, they cannot see their children, they're removed from church events, and the rapist is still walking around with these children. And if you have a sleepover, that house that your child may be going to for a sleepover might be the house of a child rapist and a pedophile. You don't even know it. We think that we're protected by child sexual registries or sexual abuse registries. That's not true. Those registries are for people who have been convicted. And very small percentage of abusers go to court and are prosecuted, and an even smaller percent go to jail. Recently, you may have heard about the DuPont family member who was convicted. He acknowledged that he was raping his 3-year-old daughter. He got convicted. The judge refused to send him to jail because he might not fare well. When a judge comes to that conclusion and fails to uphold the law, we need to remove those judges. We need to look at why this judge is not upholding the law and doing something that is violating the child's safety.
Why is that man walking around? Why are any of these other predators walking around? They are predatories. They're predatorial, and your child is at risk. Your family is at risk. It is in your interest, as well as anyone else, to learn about this topic and to act on your citizens' rights, to get the information, to audit your family courts, audit your state government. Where is the money going? Most Americans value their children. They don't think it's okay to beat women and children and rape children. We need to speak up. We have wonderful rights in this country as long as we fight for them and we use them. Take advantage of your rights. Protect the children and start today. It is in your power. We each have the power to make a change. One person does make a difference.
My ancestors survived the Holocaust, and they said that would never happen again. And then in Rwanda, it happened again, and they asked, where are the people to help? And there was another Holocaust. And now our children in the United States of America are being abused and killed, and it's like our own Holocaust. And where is everybody? Why aren't you standing up for us and helping these children? It's a terrible epidemic that's happening that everybody's ignoring. I went through 2 bouts of cancer, and that was nothing compared to losing my child. So I ask all of you, I ask you, Mr. President and Mrs. President, pay attention and protect our children. They need you.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. I am proud today that I am here in Washington, D.C., that I am calling for the justice, that our children looking for the mothers should have need to be protected, should not be living alone. Where is everybody? Where is our justice? Either we have the money or we don't have the money. Our children is looking for the mother. Without the mother, children is not being here in the earth. We needed a justice. I'm calling today here that we need to be protected. For the domestic violence, the children needs to be protected first before anything else. So please heard and listen with all this kind of tragedy. I should not be turned around and leaving our young youth. We should not be growing up without any respect and manners and turn down and forget their mothers who give their lives. We are not in here to be unjustified. We need justice. We need God. I hope everybody will hear this. It's very important to be protected our children. Should not be being just live and just to hurt and ignore that home mothers needed their children. Children's terrified, looking for their mothers, and sent to the doctor and saying the mother is crazy, that they had mentally. Mothers is not mentally problems. They're looking for their children, that they needs to be there for their children, to help them, to nurture this and love. Not to give to somebody who abuses the children and twist it up and reverse all the story that untrue. So please hear this. I am calling, I am in here, that we needed a justice, please. We needed a justice in the system that should have need to be heard, both-sided, not only one-sided, and just only has somebody has money. But where is the love and care for their children? It's nothing. And treated the children like an animals. This is not fair.
25 years ago, I worked at a shelter for battered women and their children. We got a phone call on the hotline from a mother who had just come to the country with her husband, who was a doctor. She said, and she didn't speak English very well, but she said, My husband wakes up the children in the middle of the night and he shows them pornography and he gets them to act it out. And when I complain about it, he laughs at me and he says to the children, "Oh, your mother is from the old country." But we are in America now. They do this in America. And on the hotline, she said to us, "Is that true? Do you do this in America?" And we said, if anybody does that here, we intend to stop it. We know what's going on, but we intend to stop it. She came to the shelter with her children. They thrived for a month. The children's whole behavior changed. They came out of their shells. They started laughing and joking and playing with the other children. And then their father found them. His lawyer subpoenaed them to come to family court. She went to court. She told us afterwards, an advocate was with her. She said, my husband, the advocate told us, she could not explain it very well in English. The advocate said he had his lawyer there, he had a psychologist there, he has a lot of money. They were dressed in three-piece silk suits, and the lawyer took her aside and said, go ahead, divorce him. He will get the children. She returned to the shelter. She packed their bags, and she went back to him. She said, there is no way I can protect them if he has them. And over the years I was there, we served hundreds of women and children every year. I saw this happen again and again, that people went to family court thinking that there they would find justice. And nothing of the sort happened. Every time they went, things got worse. Things got worse. And so I honor all of you who are here today, because it has got to be hard to put one foot in front of the other when you go through that kind of experience. And those of us who saw that happening in family court, we tried to say, stay as far away from family court as you can. It's very dangerous there. All we can do is work very hard to change it. Thank you for being here. Happy Mother's Day.
Mr. President, today is Mother's Day. It's supposed to be a day of happiness, joy, and celebration. But there's a bunch of us standing out here right now who are standing out for the mothers who can't get out of bed this morning, who are spending their day in mourning and tears because they're not with their children who've been taken away by the family court system. These are women who have successfully escaped abusers and survived abuse. We've been calling you, we've been sending you letters, we've been urging you. We see Secretary Kerry offering his unlimited support, the United States support, for children who have been taken by abusers in Nigeria. But what about us, Mr. President? We're your people. You're supposed to be our leader. We have nowhere else to go. We've done the appropriate things, we've reported to the appropriate authorities, and yet here we are outside of the White House on Mother's Day begging for your support, begging for you to do something. Please do something, Mr. President. Otherwise, we'll be back here next year. Happy Mother's Day.
I'm just going to talk about the book that Leora Rosen is now working toward completion of. It's a update of the book she wrote together with me in 1995, Hostage Child. The subtitle was Sex Abuse Allegations and Custody Disputes. Okay, this book came on the scene in 1995 when people were saying, there isn't a problem, this isn't happening, and that some feminists just got together and collected a few cases and they're blowing it out of proportion, or they're wrong, or whatever. But we proved that that wasn't the case, and we convinced the publisher, which was Indiana University Press, not easily convinced of things, by the way, and we got reviewed. And the only negative review of the people who were telling Indiana University Press to publish it, or not to publish it, the only negative review said that, you know, basically no other book has come out saying this, so there's no literature. Like, how come, if this is such a phenomenon, how come there's nothing out there? And of course the reason is, anybody else who wanted to put something out there always got the answer, it's not happening. So Leora has done exhaustive research, and she's a research scientist, social scientist, with degrees in research and sociology and anthropology. She has continued her research and studied this phenomenon in great depth, and come out with, you know, some really rigorous conclusions about why it's happening, how it's happening, and so forth. I am contributing only in a chapter that talks about a little concept I got called the life interest, which I say is missing from American law. That's not really relevant to the project, because the project that all of us are focusing on is, we do know it's happening. We can prove it's happening. We can prove that it goes against the written description of what the family courts are supposed to do. We do know that it is not based on the best interest of the child. We do know that it's essentially a form of domestic violence that is a more extreme form than simply beating up the wife because she didn't do something right. So the bottom line is, this book, and it'll be called Hostage Child 2 with a different subtitle, but this book is coming out in the near future. Leora Rosen is the author, and the book is going to be important for us to understand, because if something's happening and you can't understand it, you're more easily controlled. And that's the story of most of the battered women, is that they're distracted by the fact that there was a complaint about their behavior. So in the distraction, well, I didn't really do that. You know, well, why am I getting punished when actually that's not true? And they get into proving it wasn't true and they shouldn't be punished. That's not the point. The point is coercive control. The point of the family court's alleged misfunction, which I've called its function, is coercive control. It's a continuation of the family system that's based on patriarchal and male coercive control, and it's exercised most by abusive men, because ordinary men don't do that. So basically this book is a further examination, and, you know, a detailed and scientifically rigorous examination of the problem and a real dissection of what's happened. So I recommend it.
Children, free our children. Children should be seen, heard, believed, and protected. 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 Child molesters should not get custody. Child molesters should not get custody. Child molesters should not get custody. Molesters should not get custody. Child molesters should not get custody. The court is a cash register. Is a cash register, and children pay the price. The court is a cash register, and children pay the price. The court is a cash register, and children pay the price. The court is a cash register, and children pay the price. The court is a cash register, and children pay the price. Children should be seen, heard, believed, and protected. Children should be seen, heard, believed, and protected. Children should be seen, heard, and believed, and protected. Children should be seen, heard, believed, and protected. Are we on? Now! What? Now! Now! We want our children back! Where master's custody. The court is the cash register. Children pay the price. The court is the cash register. Children pay the price.
Courts are a cash register.
Children pay the price.
Courts are a cash register, and children pay the price. What do we want?
Oversight!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Oversight!
When do we want it?
Now!
We want justice.
We want justice! 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 The court is the cash register, and children pay the price. The court is a cash register. Children pay the price. The court is a cash register.
The court is a cash register. The children pay the price. Cash register.
Children pay the price.
The court is a cash register.
Pay the price.
Prices in America.
What kind of money
Family
is
court prices in America.
What is that kind of money from? Our children's lives. What kind of money does family court ring up? Blood money. Where's that blood money from? Our children's lives. Blood money. It's from our children's lives. Cha-ching. Cha-ching. The sound of the family court. Cha-ching. Cha-ching.
The sound of the family court. Cha-ching. Cha-ching.
People making money off this. Same thing in America is going on in Nigeria and many other countries around this world. This is a global issue. This is not a state issue as we get told. This is not even just a country issue. This is a worldwide issue. We are up against millennia of oppression against women and children and good men. This needs to stop. People need to stop making money off of our blood and our lives. No one has the right to steal children, whether in a family court, out of a school in the middle of the night. We need to bring back our children. This is stopping. The voices are rising. We are uniting. The powers that be have gotten away with this before warned. Your days are coming to an end because now we know. We know you kidnap our children and you traffic them and you make money off of them. You have total disregard for the well-being and safety of children. This is going to stop. You are being forewarned. Power structures that be, you are going to go to jail. We are exposing you and we are calling back to take back our children. They belong to us because we love them, we care for them, we nurture them. We do not rape them, we do not sell them, we do not beat them. This is going to stop. Power structure people are warned. This is going to stop. And we stand here today, and we will stand here other days, and we're going to let you know. We will uncover your depths of your financial statements. We'll find out where you traffic. We'll find out where you film, and we'll find out where you sell pornography. You cannot put a child into marriage. There is no such thing. It's simply rape. Call it what you will. It is rape. These girls need to be brought back. No one had the right to take their bodies and their souls from the school in the middle of the night. No one had the right to take our children to the family court system from loving people. No one has the right. They are God-given children to us to care for, to love, to nurture. You don't have the right. Power structure be forewarned. We are coming. Your days are coming to an end. Bring back our girls. Bring back our boys. Bring back our children. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers who have their children and the good fathers who have their children. Hold on to them tight because you never know. There is somebody waiting to find some financial scheme or some justification as to why you shouldn't have them. Hold on to your children tight. People who do not have their children today. Mothers who do not have their children today. These Nigerian mothers do not have their children on Mother's Day. They are grieving. They are suffering in anguish, as are the mothers in the United States of America, a country that should stand for democracy and freedom and the upholding of the rule of law, not corruption, not false orders, not ignoring evidence, not ignoring child rape. Power structure, be forewarned. Your days are coming to an end.